What's going on, guys? What's going on? Just getting some last second things done real quick. Let's see what we got here. All right, so we are here today for another class. Manuel Godoy, Black Sands. If it's the first time you're talking to me, say what's up in the comments. Always like introducing new people. You guys can hear me clearly, right? Absolutely. So first things first, I'd just like to say, everybody, this is good. We're on the third week of the course, right? As with every week beginning, let's go and recap what we've done so far. So the first 2 weeks, we basically practice extensively on how to craft our overall narrative for the entire book, right? We're trying to basically plan everything out so we don't hit any hiccups later on. Well, now that we are in week 3, it's officially the grind, okay? I told you guys that basically you have to write about 1,000 words a day in order to get your book published by the end of the course, starting today. However, if you do at least 500, you should be on your way just fine, all right? So try to at least get 500 words a day or 2,500 a week. All right. Sometimes you could sprint and do a whole bunch in a short period of time. All right. The roadmap is there already from the beat sheet. You know, we have our summary, we have our characters developed and their quirks and differences and all that good stuff. So it's definitely going to be something that you should do. Yeah, if you notice that, Guts Masterson, there's no homework in the description. Why is that? Well, it's very simple. The reason why there's no homework at all, right, is because we're not going to be doing homework too much. We're going to be working on writing, and I'm not gonna bully you guys with that. All right, so I'm not going to constantly assign you more homework all the time. Now, I will give you assignments every now and then. They're going to be very specific. That's only when we need to practice it, right? But some of these classes are philosophical. Like this class going right now, uh, this is a philosophical class, right? This is the ideology of somebody who's a CEO, right? This is the ideology of someone in charge of a team, all right? So this one doesn't need homework, right? This is more about principles for business, okay? You can do a prologue if you want, Edwin Burgos. That's your call. That's what's up. So, check it out, right? We're going to start this class off, but before we do, I want to go and tell you about Super Chat. So, I don't know if you guys are YouTubers, you know, that watch a lot of people on YouTube, other people out there, you know, but I've been seeing a lot of people who basically do uh, live streams like this all the time. They get super chat donations whenever somebody feels like they really gave them a lot of cool information. So if you ever feel inclined to just drop a donation in the comments, by all means do so, okay? That little cash button under the chat box, that is for super chat. All right, that's something that's built into the program. It's for people to basically be able to sustain themselves. You know, if you're a patron, you're already doing that yourself, right? But you never know. Maybe something gives you a eureka moment, and you're like, man, that's a eureka moment. You know what? I'm gonna drop something on that because that right there changed the whole perspective of what I was thinking. You know what I'm saying? So that's definitely something you should be thinking about if you ever want to use that option. Now, as we're going, let's go with time management. All right, this is time management class. Capital does the work. So let's go in. Week 3, class 7. Let's move. All right, first question everybody should ask themselves, which no one does. All right, what is your hourly rate? Okay, nobody ever says that. What is your hourly rate? Everybody's like, oh man, I get paid 15, 20. That's not really your hourly rate. That's your job, but that's not really your hourly rate. How do you value your time? You know, he said, that's the question. How do you value your time? I have an hourly rate in my head. And anytime I dedicate an hour to something else besides my dreams and my aspirations, he said, I got to charge people. That's my hourly rate. All right? So if you are not self-employed, you do not notice, basically. You have to be self-employed in order to grasp the idea of, what's my true hourly rate? What is my time worth, right? And then but everyone does have an hourly rate, all right? Everyone does. You just haven't thought of it yet. So you need to figure that out. Every hour working is an hour not doing something else, all right? So anytime you're doing something for someone or you're doing something for yourself, let's say you're writing and drawing, every time you spend another hour on that, you're not doing something else like marketing, selling, getting your reputation up, stuff like that, meeting to the press. So we have to figure out a way to use our hours because we only have but so many hours in the year. Think about it this way. Everybody usually has about 4 hours of leisure, right? So if you have a full work day, 9 to 5, you have about 4 hours of leisure every day, right? 4 hours. In those 4 hours, that means that you have about 20 hours a week during the weekdays to basically live your dream, right? That's very tight, man. That's very tight. He says there's a lot of work you have to do too. So how do you deal with that? And these are questions that we're going to be answering in this class. Let's see what else. Oh yeah, and this is a cool principle you should always know. It's if someone can do the job for a lower hourly rate than you, they should be hired to do that job. All right. So if someone values their hours less than you value your hours, and they are competent in their job, you should definitely hire them. Period. Period. Because your time is very valuable. All right, so let's move forward. So check it out, right? To work or not to work. All right, so there's 2 sections I got here. It's why you should and why you should not. All right, so why you should is because you save money by doing it yourself, right? I save money. I did it myself. I don't have to worry about it, right? It will not take up too much time. This is a huge one, all right? This is a huge one. When I say it will not take up too much time, that is a very big one, okay? Sure, I could save money doing it myself, but will my production go from 3 months to a year? Right? There's many things that can go wrong in a year. But I'm trying to save a buck. Be careful about that, all right? And if you are the most skilled of a trade. So let's say you're an amazing writer, right? You're an amazing writer. You don't want to give anybody any of your writing abilities. You're like, hey, I'm going to handle all the writing 100% because I know I'm better than most of the people out there, right? That's a good choice. Because you basically are saying that no one else can possibly outvalue your hour in that space, and thus you work it, right? But there are also reasons why you should not, right? The main ones that I agree on is someone else can do it for cheaper than your value. So in other words, if you're saying, man, with this hour I could have done X, Y, and Z, which would at least been a value to me of about $200. But this person right here is saying they'll do it for $25 an hour. Now I'm freed up for that hour because I'm giving somebody else $25 an hour in order to do the same exact job that I was going to do, right? And they do it at the same quality or better than I possibly can. That's the way you value your numbers, right? And then someone is severely undervaluing their skills. Sometimes you run into people who are amazing, but they don't know it, or they haven't gotten the recognition that they deserve yet, right? So their rates are ungodly low, even though they're way better than what they're charging. That is a gold mine opportunity, and when that happens, you need to jump on that. You have to jump on that, okay? Because that kind of talent you can nurture and keep with you in the long run. You gradually raise their rates over time, but they're still cheaper than everybody else because they don't value their skill set like that, you know. So you're kind of helping them grow and getting their rates up, all right? So but that's a gold mine ticket. Anytime you see that, you need to jump on them ASAP and make sure that you work with them on the long run, okay? And then last one is you have capital. If you got money, there's no reason to do anything. All right? The more money you have, the less work you should do. Period. Period. All right? If you got good capital, if you got good savings, you got all that stuff, you should do as little as possible in having a professional product. You shouldn't have to go through all that nonsense of writing every single word and every single detail and doing all the drawings and the panels. Oh, but I want to. I've been doing comics for years. How many have you released? You know, this is the problem. Nobody releases anything. They work on stuff forever. They never release it. So this is what we want to do. We want to release our products so that we can actually have a chance. All right? So, what are the powers of capital? Okay? The powers of capital is fast production. All right? Capital gives you fast production. You want faster production than what you could do by yourself. You want faster production than what you could do from people who give you their services for free. You want to hold them accountable. You want faster production. You can build a team of specialists. All right, specialists is the most important thing to any production. You need people who only do one thing in life. Okay, I don't want an editor that writes novels. I don't want an editor that writes novels. I don't want an editor who does blogs for freaking CNN. I don't want any of that. I want an editor who edits books, and that's it. That's all they do, and that's all I want them to do. Edit books. All right, so so we gotta have specialists, right? These are people who basically have chosen that path in life, and that's their job, and they're good at it. That's the kind of people you want to get. Let's see what else. Complete control, okay? Complete control. When you pay for stuff, you don't have to give away anything. All you do is give people the right to say they worked on the project. But you don't have to give away no artist rights. You don't have to give away no sales rights. You don't have to give away no copyrights. Nothing. Everything is yours because you're paying the bills. All right? More leisure. Everybody needs more leisure, all right? There's not enough leisure in the world. We're always locked in and working all day. There's not enough leisure in the world. Every hour that we can get back to either spend with our family or do whatever the heck we're trying to do, or maybe just go out and play some damn Pokemon Go on the street. I don't care what you do, but you need those hours back, and the only way you're going to get them back is by having an efficient team. All right? You might not be able to do that now because right now you're figuring out ways to actually make your first book, but in the third, the fourth, the fifth book and stuff like that, you shouldn't have to work that hard anymore. They should be coming to you like that. You should be like, you know what? I'm hiring this, I'm hiring that, and I'm going to get this book out in the next 2 months. And I'm going to work maybe 2 weeks out of that 2 months on the book. All right? And then also, it eventually allows multiple deployments. So once you get to a point where you have a whole bunch of books and you have a whole bunch of sales every time you go and do anything, you start being able to deploy multiple teams. If you haven't been practicing this principle of capital doing all the work, if you haven't been practicing this principle early where you learn how to basically manage a team, you will not know how to manage multiple teams. It just won't come to you. No matter how much you try, it won't work. You have to be able to basically autonomously create stuff. So in other words, Stan Lee autonomously created stuff. That's what he did. He basically came up with an idea, right? He wrote maybe 1 or 2 comics, and then he let the series go on its own. He was like, I'm good. I set the stage. I'm good. Now let's have a whole bunch of people work on that forever, and I'll get all the benefits for it. All right? That's what we want to eventually get to. So in order to have multiple deployments of teams to create your content, you have to learn the principles of how to manage early. All right? Now, before we go on, right? I want to talk about how we're handling our capital. So basically, you guys, I need questions from you, right? And the questions that I want to see in the comments, right, is basically, have you ever worked on independent projects before, like as a team? Like, have you ever done that? Who here has worked as a team to create something in the past? All right, so tell me, what was that experience like? Did y'all ever finish the project that you were working on, or was it more of a thing that got you busy and then it eventually disappeared? Okay, so a lot of guys had experience in college. In college, they work together in teams. So see, college is useful, right? Because it gives you opportunities to start working in teams prior, right? But in college, we kind of don't have leaders, right? So teams kind of have like everybody has their own say so in it, and I don't necessarily like that. I love the Iron Fist leader, right? The leader basically decides the fate. In the military, any military people here? Any military people in the comment section? Tell me if you're in the military. Anybody in the military? Okay, I'm military. All right. DeAndre. DeAndre, what does the military say uh, about leaders? And basically, whenever something is assigned, no matter how small the task, there's always someone who's the absolute authority on the job. Is that true? See, one thing I always tell people is like in the military, it doesn't matter how small the job, there's always a leader. There's always a leader to every job. It could be a whole bunch of privates. They're going to promote one of those privates to be the leader of the entire army of privates, even if he has no experience, because uh they care more about accountability than anything. You can't hold anyone accountable if there isn't a leader. You just can't. How does anyone do anything wrong if everyone has a say so? Right? Technically, they could have done the right thing to someone else. so, so there's always a leader. Even if the leader's bad, there's still a leader because the bottom line is you need to have structure in order to get anything done in life. And that's why I tell people when I'm trying to teach them is basically that teams are so freaking important. You know, you got to be able to handle teams early. All right, it'll save you so much time and grief later on. You don't even understand. You know, he said we're looking at this right now, right? And let's say he said we're looking at these particular things, right? My hourly rate, right? You know how much your hours worth. You don't want to waste it on doing too much grind, right? What's her name say? I think Clever said if it's something repetitive, right? Not very creative. It's a repetitive job. You don't want to have to do that, right? Who wants to go and do something that's very repetitive? It's a lot of hours for something that anybody could have done if they just got a check. So what we do with those repetitive jobs is we hire other people to do them, right? If they take too much time, we ain't trying to do all that crap, right? Will writing and drawing be too much for this project? No, not really. It depends on how long you're planning on making it. Because if you make something that's only 20 to 32 pages for a comic book, then it's not too long, right? It doesn't take long to write the content for a 20 to 32 page comic book. Now, if you're trying to do a 60-page comic book, yeah, it's completely ridiculous to think that you could do all that by yourself. That's going to take a long time, and you might burn out. All right? And guess what? This is something that's the most important thing about this principle. Burnout. All right? You guys don't understand me when I say you guys need to stick to the plan and finish your book in 90 days. Burnout is very real. People let their dreams die all the freaking time. And nobody's at fault except for the person who started the dream. You gotta understand this. When you're not hitting milestones, when you're not saying, "Man, I done wrote 10,000 words in the last 2 weeks. I'm on the fourth beat right now in my story. This is going absolutely according to plan." That's when you finish your book. You don't finish your book when you go and say, "All right, 3 months down the line, I finally got my 10,000 words, and I'm starting to do some drawings for a storyboard." Your project will die in the pits of Tartarus. I'm telling you, it will die. And the reason why it will die is because you are basically, you're unmotivating yourself, man. Think about how many times we've all gave up on something because we're not seeing results. All right? Humanity as a whole is a results-oriented species. That's what we want. If we don't get results, we're quick to rebel. We're like, I hate everything. I'll tear the whole government down because we didn't get results immediately. So think about that. If everybody's impractical, if everybody cares about results more than anything, then the only way you're going to have success in life, especially in the writing world, is to get results quick and fast. You need to get that book done. You need to hit those milestones on time. You need to get all those things done so that you can have that book in 90 days, and in 120 days you sold 100 books because you went out there and you said, "Hey, I'm going to sell 100 books." And you followed the rest of the principles I'm going to be teaching you later on in order to sell those 100 books. You're going to feel amazing when you sell your first 100 books. It's going to be crazy. You're going to be like, "Wow, I could do this." And it's just something that everybody needs to do on their own. They have to push themselves to those moments. Now, I am willing to take questions from anybody, so please leave me some questions below. I'm going to take about 5 minutes of questions, and then we're going to call it a day for this class. Remember, today you're starting your writing challenge. You need to write at least 2,500 words a week. 5,000 is preferable, but if you can only do 2,500, then do so. The grind is on, okay? We're starting our story from the first beat. Start writing. Now let me hear those questions. All right, CK the Poet says, "Black Sands, can you tell me your opinion on motion comics like what Marvel Knights did?" First of all, don't worry about motion comics until you have actual comics. All right? Motion comics is a luxury that we add after we have had a successful comic book. All right? If your comic book's not hot, there's no reason to do a motion comic on it. All right? And a motion comic is just chopping up the comic book into a form of slight animation. All right? Okay, so Michelle Brewer asked, "What if you've started illustrating up to halfway through? If you already did half of the book, you should be able to do the other half in a reasonable amount of time, correct? So just keep going. You already did half the book. Good job." What should be your milestones if you're writing comics? Well, the first thing you need to do is figure out how many pages you can do a week. All right. So let's say, hey, I can only do 2 fully inked and colored pages a week. That's your milestone, all right? Every 2 weeks, you need to be hitting 2 pages, all right? You need to do a storyboard for your entire comic before you begin, all right? Do you understand me? Before you begin drawing a single panel, you need to do an entire storyboard of your comic from beginning to end before you start working. The reason for that is because you end up with infinite work. If you don't do a storyboard that covers the entire story from beginning to end, you have infinite work. You'll never run out of pages to do in your head. All right? And we don't want infinite work. We want to release a comic. How do you get permission from Marvel to use a character? You don't. How do you know you have a good story before officially publishing it as a comic? Marketing. See if people will sign up for your class. See if people will sign up to get your digital PDF. All right? That's how you tell. If nobody's interested in when you're doing ads, then most likely nobody's going to be interested in when you're doing it live. About how much does an editor cleave from a novel? Should I shoot for more than 40,000 words? So an editor does not take away words from a novel, all right? Most of the time they change words. So in other words, you use a past tense and they say, hey, most of your books in present tense, I'm putting everything in present tense. And they'll change everything from there. That's how an editor usually works. So an editor's changes should not change much as far as like how many words are in the book. All right, that's not what an editor's work is. Now, a co-writer is going to change the hell out of how much words you got. Okay, so Will Tarver asked a really good question. It says, should we write in a linear fashion or can we jump around working on beginning this week, middle next week, etc.? Do not jump around at all. That's what your beat sheet is for. Your beat sheet is entire your entire story made into nice, cool, summary paragraphs. That's all the beat sheet is. It's just paragraphs of every single part of your story. You do not need to jump around anymore because you basically have a roadmap for your entire thing. If you do so, all you're going to do is mess up. You're going to make holes in your story that might not have existed if you just went to the next point, to the next point, to the next point. All right? When you jump around, you create holes. People are like, well, how did we get here? Like, oh, I don't know because I didn't write the previous section. How many? All right. CK the Poet says, how many words are in a comic? No clue. Absolutely no clue. Depends on what age range you're going for. It's your call. All right. Are we? Let's see what else. Let's see what else. Okay. Are we writing enough for one issue of a comic, then drawing to want to see the whole book written out? Or do you want to see the whole book written out? Uh, you should do a screenplay or a comic, whatever the heck it's called. You can even do a story version of your comic and then translate it into a comic book. All right? The product you're making is the actual comic book. So I don't need to see anything else other than your comic book. All right? So I would definitely focus on that part the most. Jonathan Houston says, if we complete 40,000 words, how long of a book is that? Can I complete a full story in one small graphic novel? Should I plot a comic for one book, a whole series of single issues? Well, first of all, that's three completely different questions. One is, if we complete 40,000 words, how long of a book is that? I'll tell you. It's as long as Sons of Nibiru. Sons of Nibiru was 40,000 words. It had 12-point Garamond font, and it had 116 pages. So it's a good-sized book, 40,000 words. All right. Second question: can I complete the full story in one small graphic novel? I don't think so. It has to be a pretty big graphic novel if it's a whole story. Should I plot a comic for one book or a whole series and a single issue? So basically, you should break it up, right? But you can focus on the first book, all right? So you do have an idea of what the next books will be, but you should focus on the first book. The reason why is because a lot of characters in Naruto were not important until people thought they were important, all right? So like a good example would be uh, what's his name? Lightning Wolf or whatever the hell his name is. What's his name? Somebody give me the name of this dude. He's the guy, the copycat ninja, right? Nobody really, the writer didn't really care about the character, the copycat ninja. He didn't care about him. He was like, he's just going to be another trainer of the kids, but nobody's going to become of it. And then everybody became obsessed. Yeah, Kakashi. Everybody became obsessed with Kakashi. And then the writer was like, I guess we got to make him a main character now. That's, they, they didn't know what to do. They said, I guess we got to make Kakashi a main character. You know, and he wasn't supposed to be. He was just supposed to be some dude who probably dies halfway through the season. But now he's literally the one of the faces of the brand. So I always say, make a good first comic, make a good beginning of a story, and you never know what people are going to like the most, because if they like something very specifically, that could change the whole perspective of how you should write the rest of the story. Don't just make it that way because you feel like it. If the customers are saying, I want more Kakashi, you give them more Kakashi. Alright? If they want more Vegeta, and Vegeta was supposed to be a one-story arc, he was supposed to be a one-story arc villain. That's what he's supposed to be. He's supposed to be in the Vegeta and the Frieza saga, and that's it. And he survived to this very day. Vegeta's still around, being a pain in the butt. All right, it's because these characters have longevity because fans said we want them. We want them, and we don't care what you have to say. We want these people, and we'll buy crazy amount of crap for them. All right, so that's it. That's it for today. I'm glad we had this talk. You know, our class is up. Once the payment processes get done for Patreon, right? Once it's done on Patreon, I'm going to basically I'm gonna start putting those new tiers up. All right, that's for people who want to have more of a one-on-one experience with me. All right, but everything else is going to be on Patreon. I already did some of the homework from last week. I'm still going through them now, right? Tomorrow we're going to have an interview with Giselle Godoy from Black Sands Entertainment. Yeah, she's going to have an interview, all right? So she's going to be on there taking questions. I'm going to make them super juicy, all right? Because she's my wife, so I can ask all the penetrating questions, right? And then on Thursday, we're going to have an interview with Urban Tunes. Now, Urban Tunes is probably, if any of the black creators you ever met in your life, all right? Any of the black creators and books that you ever met in your entire life, I guarantee you Urban Tunes have done more. All right? This dude has done at least 20 children's books. At least. He probably did more than that. You know? He's an illustrator. He's transitioned over to a businessman, so now he does publishing as well. He does printing as well. He has connects. You know, so that's going to be a very interesting interview for you guys, because that guy right there knows everything about not just the creation side of it, but also, you know, the stuff that goes into the business side. You know, I always love bringing people in who know their business. You know, so we got Giselle on Tuesday, and then Urban Tunes on Thursday. All right, so grab your hats. We're off for today. And I will see you another time.